Kirby Yates to the Dodgers is finally official. Let's break it down on Fantasy Baseball Today Express. Welcome into FBT Express on Wednesday, January 29th. I am Frank Stampfl, joined by Chris Towers. Let's talk about Kirby Yates, who is officially signing with the Dodgers on a one-year, $13 million deal. Can get up to $14 million if he does appear in 55 games this upcoming season. And the Dodgers, we know, are loaded. That includes their bullpen with Yates, Tanner Scott, Blake Trinan, Michael Kopech will be there eventually. Chris, impossible question to answer, but, give us your best guess. How do you think the saves are divvied up here for the Los Angeles Dodgers?
Yeah, one thing about fantasy baseball that is really neat if you play other fantasy sports, right, is for the most part, it is a zero-sum game. Every home run that Shohei Ohtani hits with someone on base means that other person gets a run. And it means that the next person up to bat gets a chance to bat because they didn't make an out, right? Like, offense is additive. That is not the case in the bullpen. Every save that one guy gets is a save another guy can't get, and that is the problem with the Dodgers bullpen. Is I think someone's going to get 25 saves, and I think someone's going to get 15, and I think maybe two other someone's might get 5 saves because there's going to be a lot of save opportunities to go around there. I have no idea what the actual distribution here is going to be. I think because Tanner Scott got the 5th most guaranteed money of any reliever in the history of Major League Baseball, I think is the right number. I would guess that the first save opportunity will go to Tanner Scott and maybe the second one too. And look, if Tanner Scott's as dominant as he was last year, there is a chance that they just never go to anyone else, at least not any more than a normal team would. And he ends up with 35 saves and it's just a fantasy monster. I think that's within the realm of possibility. I think it's also possible that Kirby Yates could get the first opportunity. They keep Scott a little more flexible. Maybe he can go a couple more innings. He's been very, very durable over the past few years, throwing, I think, 80 innings one season and 70 multiple times. Kirby Yates, not very durable. So, maybe they just like having Tanner Scott to be a little more flexible. I could see that. I think the way to view this is, one, I would rather have Ryan Presley. If I'm just talking about saves, Ryan Presley traded to the Cubs the other day. I'd rather have him because I think there's a much better chance he gets 30 saves than either of the Dodgers guys, even though I think the Dodgers guys are probably better pitchers. In a 12-team league, I think the Dodgers guys are more like late-round picks, probably not someone I would draft inside the top 200 even. Either Tanner Scott or Kirby Yates, they're probably going to be very close in my rankings. In a 15-team league, where one, you're just going to have to rely more on relievers or bad starters. So having a Tanner Scott who can give you 75 really, really good innings, that has more value even if he only gets 20 saves. And then those 20 saves are just going to have a lot of more value in a 15-team league. So I think I'm more likely to draft those guys in a 15-team league, maybe around 150, 160th overall. I'm going to guess Tanner Scott's still going to be drafted higher than that. And so I'm probably not going to draft much of him. Would think based on price, I'd rather take the chance on Yates.
All right, let's take a quick break and we'll be back right after this. Welcome back in FBT Express. We do have some other news. Aaron Boone said on Tuesday that Jazz Chisholm is penciled in at second base for the upcoming season. That means Jazz will have third base, outfield, and second base eligibility. Second base, not the best position for fantasy this season. Chris, if he already had second base eligibility, would you rank Jazz ahead of Ketel Marte and be your number one second baseman?
Yeah, so I don't care that much about positional scarcity, right? We did our second base tiers episode last week, and I actually kind of like the depth at second base, even if the high-end options aren't great. And so I don't put too much extra value. I have Ketel Marte as my 24th player in a Roto League. Jazz is 25. So if you want to use Jazz, not just being second base eligible, but having potentially triple eligibility, second, third, and outfield after the first week of the season, I think that's a perfectly viable tiebreaker because Ketel Marte will only be second base eligible. Very unlikely he gains eligibility anywhere else. I'm not sure he's ever played anywhere else since he got to Arizona, at least. And so, yeah, that little extra bit of flexibility, it certainly helps. It can make it a little easier to fit Brent Rooker, a DH only guy in your lineup. So I'm okay using that as a tiebreaker, but it doesn't dramatically change how I view Jazz Chisholm.
Apparently, Roki Sasaki was given a recommendation to undergo Tommy John surgery. Wait for it. Prior to his first season in Japan.
Yeah,
so
4 years ago.
A while ago. It's not, recommended right now or anything. It turns out that Sasaki decided against it and eventually discovered the issue was shoulder related with a nerve problem leading to discomfort in his elbow. Now, this is still not great news. It adds to the risk that we keep bringing up with drafting someone like Roki Sasaki. And even long-term, Chris, I mean, I understand him being ranked as the number one prospect in fantasy, and, he's going to be a very valued asset in dynasty leagues. But like any pitcher, there's a lot of risk here, and it's probably elevated with someone like Sasaki.
Yeah, I mean, look, we're talking about a guy who has obvious red flags in terms of his ability to stay healthy and pitch the number of innings that you need from a fantasy ace, because he's never thrown more than 129 and 1/3 innings in a season. The last 2 seasons before the most recent, or the last 2 seasons entering 2025, he made 33 starts combined. I think it was 91 and 111 innings. Fastball velocity dip 2 miles per hour. Like this was for me when I saw this report, it was like, well, it wasn't a report. Sasaki said it during his press conference when he joined the Dodgers. But when I saw this, my first thought was, well, yeah, okay. Now we know what the injury was or what the injury concerns have been over the past couple of seasons. There was a quote where he said, people ask me, why didn't you wait 2 more years to come over to the majors? And he was like, well, I don't know what the next 2 years are going to look like, basically. So it's a little concerning, but the red flags were already there in the only making 33 starts, in the fastball velocity dropping. So I think he's been overvalued all along in the process. He's being drafted around 80th, 85th overall as SP20 in NFBC leagues in the month of January. That's way too early. He's not inside my top 30. I think he belongs in the Tyler Glasnow kind of range. Maybe Spencer Strider is in a similar range, but probably outside the top 100. Not a centerpiece for your rotation. Someone with some upside, although that upside is capped in a 6-man rotation. Probably not going to throw more than 130 or 140 innings in a best case scenario either way. So I hope we see some price correction for Roki Sasaki here that already should have happened.
All right. For more extensive fantasy baseball coverage, listen to our full-length podcast, Fantasy Baseball Today, on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or anywhere else podcasts are found. Thanks for listening to Fantasy Baseball Today Express, and we will be back again on Friday. Bye-bye.